Now he has a Steve Bannon on the show who's saying, you know, you're going to get to populism. There's a long road. He gives zero pushback there. He gives zero pushback, as Sarah pointed out, to really what is a slur against Senator Warren, a sitting senator. He gives a platform and normalizes, in my view, an election denier and someone who is the person who is behind Project 2025. And I believe that, you know, if you are going to be a public servant, you better be unapologetically authentic, because voters can sniff out inauthenticity in a second. And I thought that that was one of the most inauthentic things I have seen Gavin Newsom do.
Wow.
I'm terribly,
so you don't believe in the let them hang themselves theory?
No, I'm terribly disappointed. I think you meet energy with energy. And what he did was he showed his pretty white teeth and his cute face and did nothing other than that. And I think it's despicable.
You ever get the feeling that everything in America is completely fucked up? You know that feeling that the whole country is like 1 inch away from saying, that's it, forget it. Let's see,
Hey, Twister Man. Now look, here's a house full of bees.
Like
you think the honey badger cares? It doesn't give a shit.
Listen, let's get one thing straight.
Price is right.
Guns don't kill people. I do.
Stand up there. They got it.
Talking away. I don't know what to say. I'll say it anyway.
You can run out of Tom Wood show. That's not impossible. So check out Liberty Street Podcast.
I'm coming for your love, okay? Take on me. Take on me.
God, the 80s were awesome.
You know, if Donald Trump really wanted to make America great again, he would change that song to our national anthem.
Oh, I was going to say he would make AHA get back together.
Come on, do something. Could you make good on one campaign promise, please?
That's in my top 5 best 80s songs. As soon as you play that, it's like,
yeah.
This is. So we have to do, I think we've done this before, but you find someone that had a crazy hit in the 80s.
Yeah.
And you go back and listen to the whole album and be surprised like how lackluster that journey can be. So we did it with The Outfield.
Right.
What was their hit?
The Susie's on a Vacation
Far Away.
Yeah.
that song. Whole album, phenomenal.
Yeah.
The entire album is
outstanding.
amazing.
Yeah.
So we should do that for this.
For AHA?
Yes.
Do you think, I mean, they're kind of they have fans though.
Yeah.
They're probably not a one-hit wonder.
Well, you'd be surprised.
Maybe one hit, but there are people that love AHA.
Well, a lot of that, so it's not necessarily the hit because The Outfield, the vast majority of the album, they're not hits.
Right.
They're all really, really good songs.
Right.
So
you could be a one-hit wonder and have a great album.
Right. So it'd be interesting to do it with these guys. Another one would be Crowded House. What was their jam? That Hey Now, Don't Dream It's Over.
Right.
All we know is the lyrics, which is one, I think that song is probably the best song to ever come out of the 80s. But this one's up there with it.
I did that a little bit with Talk Talk.
What was their hit?
Is that one that No Doubt covered?
Oh, I was going to say, I was trying to think who does the It's My Life song.
It's My Life.
That is on my top 5 too.
The rest of their songs didn't do it for me.
Yeah.
Just that one.
So, and also one of my favorites is Something About You by Level 42. Oh, which is such a great song.
Amazing song.
Album, not so good, which is unfortunate.
It's actually shocking when you find one of those hits that's accompanied by an album of really good songs.
Yeah, I remember we were on tour when we were driving, and we did the One Hit Wonder Challenge. Like every day we assigned a new band to ourselves, and we listened to the whole Outfield album where it's like, dude, it's just like banger after banger after banger. None of them are hits. And still the hits good too. because usually I grow tired of hits. When someone,
Yes.
Jake, what were we talking about? You asked me where I was on
Fennel.
No,
The plant?
Fennel.
yeah, on the fence. But you were talking about a band, so this is a different conversation that we had. Was it like Led Zeppelin or?
Are you constantly hitting me with what's my favorite metal or Iron Maiden album? Mm-hmm. We've had that one a couple times.
The thing about fennel, though, is that it has kind of a licorice taste, which not many people, licorice is like a black and white. You either like it or you don't.
Yeah.
And you, I guess, are on the fence, but not with licorice. You hate licorice.
Like, yeah, just black licorice. That's disgusting.
I think it's
love
just fennel. It's
Blackjack
flavor.
chewing gum?
Oh, dude.
My
Man,
favorite.
back in the day.
Hell yeah.
There's something wrong
I know.
with you guys.
So yeah, probably either Seventh Son or what's the one that God, A Peace of Mind.
Peace of Mind. I think Peace of Mind's the best Iron Maiden album.
Not familiar.
You didn't listen to Iron Maiden growing up?
No. No, I didn't listen to music that...
Devil music?
Yeah, I was a good boy. No, I just listened to gangster rap.
There are no boys to men.
So I think you and I are both right now experiencing a sort of divine intervention with
Yes.
various health issues.
Yes. So the way the whole thing started is, I'll tell you about my revelation that I had, which ended up with a weird end of the equation, is I had about a month ago, like some bizarre, like very, very mild back pain, like just like an aggravation. And it only hurt when I was driving. So I go and see a chiropractor, shout out Dr. Matt, and Dr. Matt. And he said, how much pain are you in? I was like almost none. And he goes, do you know you have 3 dislocated ribs along my spine? I'm like, no. So he pops them back in. But what was worrying me is my right hand like stopped working. So I freaked out.
And when you originally told me that this was going on, I was under the impression that you went in with your hand working fine, and then he adjusted you, and your hand no longer worked.
Yeah.
But that's not true?
No.
Shout out, Doc.
Here's your bill. Good luck with that hand. And he said the inflammation from your ribs being popped out is pressing on the nerves, which is why your hand doesn't work. Because the first thing I freaked out about was like, did I just have like a stroke or something? That's usually the symptom when your hand stops working. And one of my favorite things about this entire process is I was like, are you sure I didn't have like a stroke or anything? And first he says like, did you take the COVID shot? I'm like, no. He goes, you didn't have a stroke.
That's good math.
So he goes, it'll be a couple of weeks and you'll start to gain mobility back. And so smash cut to a month later, my hand still doesn't work right. And you and I have been working together and I can't write.
Yes.
Yeah. You see me take notes. We have work meetings. You're like, can you read that? It's like, no, I'm going to call you in an hour and ask you what we talked about. I have no idea what I'm writing. Just straight, like, looks like someone having a seizure trying to write at the same time. And since things didn't even out, I called another sports doctor, which you referred me to. Mm-hmm. And
shout out Prevent PT.
Yeah. And he's telling me, he goes, yeah, well, you come in, do this full like body assessment and blah, 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 blah. He's going on and on and on. I'm giving him information. At the very end, he goes, do you have any injuries? I'm like, yeah, well, that's why I'm calling you. He goes, so explain the injury? I'm like, well, it's not an injury. I was like, my right hand just stopped working like a month ago. And to which he says like, you need to go to the ER like right now. I'm like going, really? So then I call the hospital. They say the same thing. You got to come to the ER. And I'm at work. And I say, well, it's been like a month. Is another 4 hours going to kill anybody? And I'll be there tonight. And so I go see the doctor. And then he goes, we need to do like an emergency MRI. And the reason why he's freaked out is that I'm not in any kind of pain. Because he goes, how much pain are you in? I was like, maybe like a 1.5 out of 10. Only when I'm driving. And to which they immediately try to offer me painkillers, by the way.
No,
Like, you
lovely.
want something for the pain? I was like, no, I'm not in pain. I just
1.5.
my hands.
We can
retarded.
handle that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we put you at a -6.
So then I get scheduled for the MRI. The MRI people call me, and then they have to go through this whole thing. Like, do you have a pacemaker? Do you have this? Do you have body piercings? Do you have this? And we get to, have you ever had an injury to your eyes? And I'm like, yeah. They're like, did it involve metal? Well, yes. They're like, oh, well, now you need an X-ray before you get the MRI. Because if I have metal in my eye, Jake, you have experience in this.
I've got non-orthopedic screws in my hand, and I went in to get an MRI for my knee one time.
And they got sucked out of your hand.
And
so you went for that budget wrist surgery. They use like drywall screws.
I don't know what the fuck. They went down to like Orchard Hardware Supply or something.
We can take care of that.
I can do that for half the price.
So the MRI machine got kicked on, and it rapidly apparently started trying to pull the screws out of my hand.
What happened to your hand?
Originally?
No. In the MRI.
Well, nothing. They turned it off when I started screaming, basically.
You felt them trying to...
Oh, God, yeah.
Oh, crazy. Did your hand like clink up against the top of the tube?
No, I think it's so strong that it would actually just rip it right out of your flesh.
Dude, I was thinking about that today. Like, I had these metal splinters in my fingers from all the grinding I was doing. I was like, dude, I bet like Matt went into the MRI and like all the splinters,
everything
came out. Like, oh God,
I've been working with metal for like 5 or 6 years now. Like, how much metal is in my body right now?
I mean, you don't want to go in there and turn into a fucking pomegranate smoothie in that tube. That would be really bad.
Ugh, the cleanup.
So then finally, and when I talked to the doctor, he said it's called cervical
cancer,
radiculopathy, something like that. And I got the name wrong, so I called my wife. She goes, "What did they say it was?" I'm like, "Cervical, like this or something." She goes, "That says," and she's click on the phone.
I was just about to look it up.
She goes, "That's inflammation of the cervix." I'm like, well, we can cross that one off. It's probably not that.
No wonder I have trouble driving.
So they basically, something in my spine got jarred and it's pressing against the nerves on my hand. Because he goes, the fact that you're not in pain but your hand doesn't work, he goes, that's a really bad sign. And the one mystery that no one can figure out, including myself, is like, when did you get hurt? I was like, I have no idea. Like, I don't remember being hurt ever. It just, one day my hands basically stopped working. And so I was like, and he tells me what it is. And I say, how do we fix this? He goes, oh, well, we just basically just go in and shave back the vertebrae that's against the nerves. And I went like, whoa. We're talking about like back surgery right now. He goes, yeah, it's a non-invasive procedure. To which I said,
to your spine.
Sounds pretty fucking invasive to me. And so then I get the MRI yesterday. And now I'm like freaked out because I'm like, I don't want to enter into this cyclone of medical establishment surgery and drugs, and the surgery didn't take care. You know what I mean?
Walking with a cane.
Yeah, I've just known too many people that, well, they got the back surgery and then they did a med, and that med did this, so they took a med for that, and then like it caused us other problems. They got this other surgery. It just, you get into this downward spiral of the medical establishment. Like, it's like a subscription service. Mm-hmm. And which, by the way, I was in the MRI machine. You've had an MRI before?
Yeah.
Yeah, you obviously have. It's fucking terrifying. And right before they put me in, they're like, are you claustrophobic? I'm like, we're about to find out. Turns out I am. And I've started freaking out in there just because of my weird paranoid brain. I'm in the MRI machine and I'm thinking like, I think they're going to leave me in here. Like, they're trying to like torture me. Like, this is like some Guantanamo Bay kind of shit. Just very, as far as like how pleasant of an experience, I'd put it between like being in a concentration camp and having to look at someone's vacation photos where you're just like, there's got to be something better I could be doing with my life right now. But I had a revelation in the MRI machine because I was like super bummed that I had allowed myself to get to this spot. Mm-hmm. I was like, dude, this is like everything that we want to avoid. And here you are now. and you could be looking at thousands and thousands of dollars of medical bills. You're in this MRI machine. You have to do everything that these doctors say. And the weirdest epiphany that I had is I was in the MRI machine thinking like we need to level up from here. Like we have to be proactive to get your life to like a better spot. And the first thing I thought was, it was like, it's ridiculous that you don't know Spanish. And I came out of the MRI machine. I'm like, all right, it's on. We're going to fucking learn Spanish correctly.
Yeah, that should make a difference. That'll get you on track.
Yes. And wake up this morning, and I was talking to my mom, who's a nurse, and she goes, call me as soon as you have any information. And I was like, I had the MRI, basically drove home from the MRI, and then you and I had a work meeting on the phone. So one of the symptoms of my hand is I can't write with my hand.
Yeah.
Like just illegible. And we're having a phone meeting, and I'm writing, and I'm looking at my writing. I'm like, holy shit. Like I can write all of a sudden. Like it like turned on a dime. Like I can read this. And I went like this because I can make a fist with my hand, but I can't go like this. And then so we got off that meeting. I went like this. I couldn't do that 2 days ago.
You're bending my hand, your hand at about a 30-degree angle.
Yes,
right now,
which is
your other one's at about a 90,
which is a huge improvement. And so when I was talking to my mom, she goes, "I think there's like some kind of psychosomatic thing going on that once you were realized with the prospect of surgery, your body just because the way your mind works is like, well, we're not fucking doing that,
right? And
your body just started healing itself.
See, the body is powerful. The mind and the body can heal just about anything.
I think I'm in the clear.
Yeah.
Not yet, but on my way.
It's a good thing you had the MRI first, because there's no way if you had gotten that 30% bend in your hand, you would have bailed on that.
Yes.
And then you wouldn't find out about your cervical cancer.
It's my inflammation of the cervix. I probably would have died in a car wreck.
So what's, Jake, what's in the news?
Let's see here. What's the latest is people are talking about no taxes for people that make
under 150
grand.
No income tax.
No income tax, correct. Lots of other shit. Maybe no property tax for senior citizens.
Actually, there's a few states. Someone just sent me an article that are talking about getting rid of the property tax.
Really?
Yes.
I'm sure California's on that list.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think property tax is probably the most immoral
out of all the taxes,
because you can't avoid property tax. You can do everything that you want to do to. You could operate on a barter system.
Mm-hmm.
You could live off the land. You could not need to buy anything, so you wouldn't have to pay any sales tax. You could conceivably construct a life where you lived completely off the grid, isolated by yourself. But the property that you're on, you're still essentially renting from the government.
I'd put inheritance tax up there too.
All tax is theft, in my.
Yes. What about that one where they get to bang your wife on the night of the marriage?
Yeah.
From Braveheart. I don't think we do that here anymore.
Prima nocta.
Gavin is the guy? Is he?
They're just blessing the Holy Union.
Okay, so here it is. So apparently, and this is in Pennsylvania. Russ Diamond, Republican from Lebanon, Pennsylvania, will put forward a resolution titled HB 900, which Fox News Digital learned exclusively will be filled imminently. The document is a draft constitution amendment he hopes will go to the voters on Election Day and not a typical piece of legislation requiring gubernatorial approval, which reminds me of the time, I guess it was like a year ago in California, where they were going to put a measure on the ballot to get rid of, was it income tax in California? And was it income tax or some sort of tax?
Mm-hmm.
To get rid of these taxes in California. Oh, no, it was to make it so that any tax, new tax or raising of taxes had to get a 2/3 majority approval. Or something
yeah. I remember that.
And the judge appointed by Gavin Newsom stepped in and said, no, that's unconstitutional. You can't do that. So here we are, the biggest country in America, and the people here are not allowed to vote on whether or not the government can raise their taxes. It's fucking criminal. Anyways, this, I lost my spot here. In Pennsylvania, further down in this article I read, it's, there were 10,000 properties seized by the government last year in Pennsylvania for failure.
Just in Pennsylvania?
Just in Pennsylvania for failure to pay property taxes.
Wow.
How insane is that?
Yeah, that's wild.
Did you see that we are bombing Yemen?
Yep, just saw that. Shout out Huffington Post.
With every war, which that's what we're talking about here, right? They all go the same way, right? We have the greatest military allegedly in the world, and we deem a country to be terrorists or people in that country to be terrorists. And then what we do is we fly planes or drones or launch missiles from hundreds of miles away and just bomb them.
Mm-hmm. Do you know the rough backstory of what's going on in Yemen?
Go ahead.
I'll just give the complete caveman version. Is after 9/11 happened, which were all, except for one guy, one Egyptian, it was all people from Saudi Arabia,
right,
who happened to be an ally of the U.S. And so, of course, as it would make sense, we invade Iraq.
Afghanistan.
No, Iraq first.
No, first Afghanistan.
Okay, Afghanistan, and then we we bomb the shit out of Afghanistan, but then we invade Iraq.
Right, with our full military.
Saudi Arabia was pissed that we invaded Iraq because it created some weird power like vacuum there.
Sure.
That they were pissed about. But they had been wanting to go into Yemen for a long time due to some slightly different faction of Islam dispute that had been going on for decades. And so for the way that the U.S. appeased Saudi Arabia is that we only didn't let them invade Iraq, or Yemen, rather, but we also provided all the infrastructure and military intelligence and everything that they needed.
Right.
That's why there's a genocide going on in Yemen right now. And so now we just started bombing Yemen.
Yes.
Great.
Like today, I think.
And it's funny because people talk about, they get worked up about, Israel or Palestine or whatever you are on that issue. It's like there's been an actual genocide going on in Yemen for well over 10 years at this point. One of the worst genocides you could ever think
humanitarian
about. Just total crisis. Yeah. Kids dying of cholera and dysentery and people starving to death, complete famine, no drinking water, no medicine. The Saudis created a blockade around the entire country, and we're just going to basically starve them out. And then we start bombing them on top of that. It's like one of those deplorable things you could ever think about.
I think about this with the military. If you have a badass military and everyone that's in it thinks they're badass, and you have kind of a strut about how great you are. Let's say like Israel's military. Mm-hmm. And then you use that military to just drop bombs on people. I think you're kind of bitching out. Mm-hmm. Like you need to go there with your badass soldiers and fight the fight. And if you're not doing that and you're just sitting back on a couch dropping bombs, I think you're kind of being a pussy.
All right, a lot of meat on that bone.
It's like you don't actually have the courage of your convictions. If this is so important, then go there, kill the bad guys. Since no one's saying that we need to wipe Yemen off the face of the earth, it's the Houthis that we're saying are the enemies here, right? And we know that when we drop bombs, it doesn't just kill the person that you're trying to kill. It wipes out women and children in the process. When you look at the videos online, or that the that they put out to the news, it's usually just a car driving down the road and there's, they kill someone with a missile, right? But in reality, you're blowing up the buildings that they are hiding in or headquartered in. You can't be discriminate when you're doing that. You're going to kill innocent women and children. If this area is so important, go in there with a gun and shoot that person in the head so that no innocent people are killed in the process.
Yeah, but then the pushback against that is, which has come to glaring kind of when they talked about the IDF attacking Gaza and blowing up schools and hospitals. Like, well, Hamas is building their fortress under the hospital. Basically, it's like a human shield kind of program going on. You still go like, that still doesn't make it like, and that's on Hamas if they want to do that. And you go like, this still doesn't make it okay.
How about the latest excuse? They stopped allowing any sort of humanitarian aid into Gaza because it's being stolen by bandits who are then taking it and using it to, sell to whoever they want on a black market.
Right.
So we're just not going to let them have any food, water, electricity, or anything. Because if we do, it'll get stolen. So you're saying you're okay with just starving the people just so the bandits don't get this stuff? Like,
yeah.
Shut up. It's just so immoral. I can't fucking stand it.
Have you seen the latest with
Hold on. They also we also just had Elon Musk come out and say, oh, the Mexican cartels are a terrorist organization. That means we can drone bomb them.
Mm-hmm.
Same fucking thing.
Yeah.
You're going to drone bomb Mexico without hurting innocent people?
Yeah.
Or you're going to drone bomb them in the United States and not kill any innocent people? Just put on your fucking army boots and go down there and shoot the guys.
Let's talk about Mexicans for a second.
Okay.
We did a big...
Because of your Spanish kick that you're on?
Yes. We did a big concrete pour.
Yes.
Yesterday, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And we worked with a concrete crew that you and I have been working with for close to 10 years at this point. Like the best guys. So on that crew, we had, I don't know, somewhere between 8 to 10 people, something like that. Half speak some form of English. Mm-hmm. I think 2 of them spoke really decent English. Right?
Yeah.
And we're managing it, and we have a relationship with these guys, and they just they work their fucking ass off. Like, it's crazy how fast these guys work, and like how well they work together, and like how seriously they take the job. Mm-hmm. And I've known these guys for years now. Talking to them like, hey, like, Ricardo, what are you doing this weekend? And he's like, oh, see, working, and then helping my brother put some windows in. And then like, hey, Memo, what are you doing this weekend? He's like, see, working, and then I'm gonna build a fence with my neighbor. I'm like, all they care about is work.
Yeah.
It's like, then it's just like they're so like focused. Like, we work hard, we work fast, we work efficiently, and we make sure everything gets done, and we take everything like super seriously. And I think this is what part is like what stemmed my revelation in the MRI machine. I was like, here I am in Northern California, and I think I have like more of a connection with the Mexican concrete crew, half of which don't speak any English, than most of the white people around me when I go back to my house and go hang out. Like, and someone's talking about how like Elon Musk is a Nazi. I'm like, I just have no connection to you. Like, the world you live in is so foreign to me. I was like, I need to get back to work and hang out and watch dudes pour concrete, because I identify with this. This makes sense to me. It's like dudes that just want to get shit done and make it happen and fucking move on to the next thing.
Here is a problem in front of you, and we're going to work to solve it. And the problem is just that, we have to put concrete into this space, and it has to look really good when we're done.
And we would need to do it as fast as possible.
Yeah.
And we're doing the same thing tomorrow and the next day and the next day and the next day. And they pull it off every time because they work so well together.
That's why vacations, to me, the best vacations I've ever taken were working vacations.
Yeah.
Where you go and help someone do something.
Yeah.
I would take that in anywhere rather than going and just
it's like going down to see my dude Chris down in San Diego. I was like, hey, we can come hang out for like 3-4 days. He's like, what do you want to do? I was like, whatever you want to do. He's like, oh, we're going to work out with the Navy SEALs like every day. I'm like, oh, fucking all right, let's do it. Best vacation I ever took.
Mm-hmm.
just exhausted at the end of it.
Yeah, I would rather be working on someone's house pretty much anywhere in America or wherever in the world than sitting on a beach somewhere.
Yeah.
To me, it's like I look back on that vacation that we took, and I don't look back with like, oh, that was nice. I always think back like, what a fucking waste of time and money that was. The only thing I can salvage out of it, not that I don't appreciate, hanging out with you guys and the idea of going on that trip, but the only thing that I fall back to and say it was worth it was like, well, my kid had a good time.
Yeah.
But if I had to go to Minnesota in the winter and help someone build like a fucking woodshed or something,
yeah,
I'd probably enjoy that more.
Yeah, I hear that.
You get to kind of know the people in the area. You learn where the lumberyard is. You talk to folks. When you go sit in some resort somewhere, like it might as well be in Rohnert Park.
Yeah.
You have no connection with the world around you, and I didn't feel like going out. I don't know. It was just like...
That was funny when we went out of town, and people, where were you guys? I was like, I went to Mexico for a while. Like, oh, whereabouts? And I have to use my finger quotes. It's like, Mexico. We were in Cancun, which is basically L.A. with slightly better weather.
Yeah.
The Cabo was like an annexed San Diego to me.
Well, you actually went to town.
Yeah.
In Cancun.
Yeah, but I mean,
No, in
there
Cabo.
was like a Hard Rock restaurant. Like it was genuinely
Mr. Frogs.
Senor Frogs.
Senor Frogs, sorry.
It was
Spanish.
fully, it was just like,
I'll help you with your Spanish.
could have been but I'm fortunate that I actually did get to go to Mexico on that last trip. But I'd be pretty bummed. There's nothing great about, what is it? We went to Cabo, right?
Cabo, yeah.
Yeah. It's
we were just outside.
Cancun.
We were outside of Cabo, but
Cancun or
the
Last
last
trip
trip we
was Cancun.
did was Cancun.
Yeah, you can't tell because you're in some resort the whole time.
Right.
It could be anywhere in the world. It wouldn't make no difference.
I experienced a weird thing when we go to those resorts. So the way that this whole thing started, because you guys all came on the trip. Jake, you were on the trip before that. It started out is we were doing a celebration. We had a medical issue in my family that got solved. And we decided like we should do like a celebration for him. And just a way to kind of like decompress and everything. And there were so many people that were going to go. It was like close to 30 people at that point. And it started out as a joke. I'm like, let's do something like totally outside of our lane, like something we would never do. Because I love to travel. I love to like get out there. Like best trip I ever took was in Baja, just surfing and fishing the whole way up, staying in the desert. You got a car full of like refried beans and toilet paper and beer, and like we'll figure it out. You know what I mean? No plan, no anything, just kind of like roughing it and meeting the locals and hanging out with them and stuff like that. And I was like, let's do a cruise. I was like, that'd be insane. It's like you think about like gross fat American. They go on cruises and they just sit around and eat and drink all day. Probably like gamble, like whatever, and watch some shitty cover band at the end of the day. And it got downgraded slightly. Like I think the pragmatics, like the logistics of organizing, it's like the one thing I don't want to do is have the where are we going to eat conversation 30 times a day with 30 different people. It's like if you go to a resort, it's like if you're hungry, you raise your hand and they come bring you food. Like it's all paid for. You don't have to deal with anything. So we settled on the resort. So this whole thing started out as like kind of tongue in cheek. But once we got there with that many people and kids, I'm like, this is actually really nice. It's like I don't have to do anything. I don't have to have any conversations. We trained every day. We just found a patch of grass and beat the shit out of each other, behind the kitchen. So now it's become like a tradition. So we did the other Cabo trip. We went there again, and then we did Cancun this time. So it's not like, and I don't leave. You guys left the resort, but you guys traveled, right?
Yeah, I mean, we drove across the entire Yucatan Peninsula.
Yeah.
I was staying in a village that maybe had 300 people living in it. So I was in the jungle. Yeah, I'm talking night hikes to...
Did you see Joe Biden?
Pyramid
Jungle?
I saw the border czar down there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Kamala Harris?
Yeah, that one. Yeah. She's doing good work.
What's she up to these days?
I think she just gave us word salad speech.
Really?
I think so.
Is she running for governor of California?
I believe so.
Really?
No fucking way.
Really?
I think so.
Wow.
So
I heard Adam Carolla say
I
it.
made the
I don't know if he was
prediction that California goes red in 5 years, a couple episodes back.
I think you're right on that.
I mean, it's difficult to bust out of your fishbowl or your echo chamber. I try not to. I don't really have. I don't know. You know, you seek out news that sort of speaks to your flavor of cognitive sort of dissonance or whatever. You know, that reinforces whatever pre-existing prejudices you have. But I, you know, like Matt, you were talking about, you listen to nothing but NPR. I used to have NPR and whatever station Michael Savage was on were the only two saved stations on this car I had a long time ago's, you know, radio. And so I would really try to go back and forth between the two. I'd see, and it's really just about what are they talking about? They're never talking about the same shit. This party will be talking about, you know, something that's important to their group. That party will be talking about something that's important to their group. They're never at the same time synced up and debating each other so you can get a full picture, but you can really just get a sense of the vibe of where they're coming from or what's important to them. I tried to break out of that, but I feel like by and large, the majority of people in my sort of splash zone that I'm in personally with people from California, they're all fucking fed up. And, of course there's other folks. I have some friends that were down at the square, like protesting something the other day, you know?
Oh, they
I heard there was another.
They just had another one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bum we missed it.
I stopped at our spot. I was like, what's going on? Is there like a festival over there? Like, nah, it's another protest. I'm like, what are they protesting? They're like Elon Musk and Trump. I'm like,
what are you?
Didn't they just do that?
Just did that.
So I wanted to ask, like, is the Elon being a Nazi thing? Is that who's being gaslit? Like, that all comes from his Nazi, his Roman salute.
No,
at that. No.
Well, I mean that's their evidence, but I think they were calling him a Nazi before then.
Dude, you know who just jumped on that bandwagon?
On the Elon as a Nazi bandwagon?
With the Nazi salute?
No.
Bill Burr.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
God, that guy is
He was on a podcast, the Breakfast podcast.
What do you mean? He's out there doing Roman salutes now?
No, the Breakfast Club. No, Bill Burr was just going on about like he's literally doing Nazi salutes and he still has a job. You guys, why is that? And it made me think because Bill Burr used to be this. Here's my prediction. What I think is going to happen is that Bill Burr was a hilarious and like edgy comedian, right? Yeah. And he
used to call out shit that was true,
right? But now he's gotten through the gates of Hollywood.
Yeah.
Now he's an insider. He gets to go on Jimmy Kimmel and everything. So he has realized like I have to do the thing, otherwise like I'm going to be cut off from access.
Right.
To, you know, he's making money. You know, he's like a famous dude.
Yeah.
At this point, is now what's going to happen, and this is like what I deplore about the cultural left, is they're going to start going through his old material about him talking about gold digging whores and all this, and his problematic comedy bits, and they're going to come after him. He's going to get canceled because they always eat their own in the end, which is how Marxism works. It's a purity test which you can never pass. I was watching that and I was like, I've never seen someone so quickly get on their knees and lick the boot for access than this guy, which is disappointing because I used to be like a huge fan of him. I still am. I think he's an amazing comedian. It's hilarious.
I just feel like I don't follow him that closely, but his name has come up quite a bit lately, and it seems like he's just a victim of, and maybe what I'm describing is the sort of exoteric side of what's going on. It just seems like he's been plopped down in front of a TV showing CNN and The View for too long, and it's actually started to take root in his brain. Or, like you said, he's been given some sort of access into the network that he's been trying to gain access to for a long time. And
now that he's inside,
he's got to say.
Well, and his chick is in the same circle.
Mm-hmm.
She's an actor as well, who he could easily screw her career up by not saying the things.
Yeah.
I mean, so back to the Elon thing, like who's being gaslit? Because my sort of armchair perspective on this is that Elon had this highly curated clip of him making this Roman salute to a crowd of people. But the expanded version of it is he's doing this stupid "my heart goes out to you" thing.
Mm-hmm.
Is there more to it than that? Because
well, I mean, we obviously don't think he's a Nazi, right?
Fuck.
We do.
We think he is.
No, we
don't think he's a Nazi.
We do not think he's a Nazi.
Right.
That's an absurd notion.
So I think we're being gaslit by people that say he's a Nazi. It's absurd.
Well, I'm saying they're what I mean by that is they are the people that say he's a Nazi are gaslit by the curated clip of him giving that salute. That's like like media mainstream news 101 is you take a clip out of context, you paint the context, then you play the clip, and then the audience leaves with an understanding that you wanted them to have about what happened.
How many people, though, even the like furthest gone people that you can think of, if they sat down and had this conversation with you, would say, I think he's a Nazi because he did that salute?
No, you and I broke this down because we were talking about this because I had a conversation with a friend that I dearly love, actually, but buys into all this stuff. Just watches MSNBC all day and comes out and regurgitates the narrative and was saying the Elon Musk, was Sieg Heiling. I was like, let's just break this down. This gets into the kind of the walk out the front door thing. I'm like, okay, let's just break down pragmatically, like what you are saying is that he's a Nazi. Yes. Okay. He's a Nazi. And then he went on national TV and Sieg Heiled in front of everyone to what? To signal to all the other, this crazy, huge underground Nazi movement in America. And he's like, dog whistling to them. Like,
well, it's not a dog whistle.
Or what? It's not a dog whistle. It's
like
straight
out in
up.
the open.
Yeah. I was like, so he's basically saying like, it's kind of a green light. Like, the next Holocaust is about to happen.
It's time to round up the Jews.
I was like, let's just break this down, like exactly what you're saying. Like, we're going to take away the talking points, that hyperbole. Is that what you're telling me right now?
And this is the guy.
Does that sound plausible?
This is the guy that works for the administration, whose one thing that everyone in the administration has in common is undying loyalty to Israel is a Nazi. That every single person that's in any form of power in the Trump administration
has an AIPAC follower that goes to every meeting with him,
has vowed allegiance
but this guy cracked the code somehow.
They vowed allegiance to Israel no matter what harm they do to anyone. It doesn't matter. They won't even, God, it is so fucking obvious to me that Israel is actually running our country.
Yeah.
Trump is anti-war on just about every single war issue, except when it's something that Israel wants him to do.
Yeah.
If Israel wants us to bomb Yemen, if Israel wants us to invade Syria, we do it. It's if Israel is, I don't know, connected to Jeffrey Epstein in some way, which he may be, or he was Epstein connected.
Definitely connected.
Yeah. Was he working for the Mossad? Who knows? But let's just connect the dots. I mean, obviously there was a connection, right? His wife was the daughter of Max, whatever.
His partner in crime, Ghislaine Maxwell, was the daughter of Robert Maxwell, who worked for the Mossad, who ran a sexual blackmail operation.
That's a connection.
That's a pretty direct connection.
Exactly. And so we are promised that we're going to get the Epstein files, but guess that's not happening. They had to be on the desk of Pam Bondi that morning. Didn't really happen. We could just go get him, but now that's never going to happen. We had a guy who was going to be the AG, and Matt Gaetz, who was very anti-Israel. That didn't happen.
Yeah.
You can't look at that administration and not also see Israel all over it. It's ridiculous. I just heard this today. Hold on, I want to play this first. Remind me to come back to France.
France?
Yes.
Okay.
Come back to France.
Bubble mailers are an ideal way to ship many
talk to you about
products.
bubble
And with
mailers.
Sticker Mule, ordering custom bubble mailers has never been easier
something we
or
should do
faster.
for the podcast.
So I was willing to give up whatever might be the tracking of Kamala Harris's particular fondness for nacho cheese Doritos for the sake of getting a big bag of Doritos as I watched the Oscars.
That's the consumer behavior.
And that's right, but here's the thing.
Granted,
I just lost 10 IQ points.
Come on. She'll never get it together.
No.
Just quit. Go retire somewhere.
I like her.
What have you guys dipped into the Gavin Newsom podcast at all?
No.
He had.
I'm in the manosphere.
Charlie Kirk. Then I
heard a bunch of clips from the Charlie Kirk episode.
He had
Bannon was on.
Yeah, Steve Bannon.
Oh, really?
I haven't seen that one yet or heard it yet. But when I went looking for it, there was one with Michael Savage on, and I just didn't.
Whoa! Gavin Newsom had Michael Savage on his podcast. Really?
Yeah.
I am listening to that tonight.
It was. Fuck, dude. It's. I haven't listened to the whole thing.
I think he thinks that he can, like, I'm just going to go in there, roll up my sleeves, and duke it out with these guys, and they just eat his lunch.
Well, that's what happened with Charlie Kirk. I was disappointed with the Michael Savage one. I'm not going to say anything now to try to impose what I was left with from that one in my kind of zooming around in it. But I'm curious to hear how you think about it. But in the last episode, I said this is an unsustainable format for him. He's not going to be able to keep this going. Like his PR people are like, what you need to do is you need to sit down with like the craziest far right personalities that exist, and I think duke it out with him was one angle to take, but there's no substantiating anything that he's done at all about from a policy perspective or how he's managed the state or any of his policy. Like he can't duke it out with anybody.
No.
No. So
he has no dukes.
It turns out to be a lot of, in my opinion, just a lot of fluff. I'm curious about the Bannon one because Bannon seems like a crazier. I don't really know what Bannon's background is. I've listened to a little bit of stuff of his, and he can go. Like the dude will talk for an hour straight, uninterrupted, about a lot of shit.
Yeah, he's very knowledgeable.
He's a pretty smart dude.
And I'm curious to see how it goes with Gavin because I was a little disappointed in the Michael Savage episode.
I was listening to Adam Carolla recently, and he was like, "There's no way he's going to have me back on his podcast again."
See,
but if he does,
did you ever listen to that?
Will be.
Did you ever listen to the episode?
That would be epic. Like he fucking tears Gavin Newsom apart all the time. For some reason, Gavin Newsom came on his podcast once, probably thinking the same thing he's thinking here. Like, I just got to get in there with these guys and rough it up a bit. And
Adam Carolla just eviscerated the dude.
Right.
It was hilarious.
Yeah, he was talking about no, we got to talk. Gavin Newsom goes, no, but let's talk about the real face of homelessness. It's a single mother who her husband left them, and she has 2 kids. She's working a full-time job, and she just can't make it. And she's on the street homeless. And he's like, what are you talking about? I was listening to this comedian who was on with Adam Carolla. They played that clip, and he goes, you know what? That's actually kind of accurate because when I go out for dinner, like somewhere downtown with my wife and kids, and we walk through kind of a seedy neighborhood, I usually huddle them like close to me because I don't, I know there's single mothers with kids around here, and I just don't want them to be, harmed by these people.
That whole thing started. He started tearing it because he was regurgitating talking points about predatory check cashing places. And he starts into that, and Adam Carolla is like, so what's the problem? Like, he goes, well, you know, it's like they're taking advantage of these like poor minorities and everything. Like, minorities, why is it just minorities? He goes, well, like, you know, Gavin Newsom was immediately over his skis. Like, no, it's not what I'm saying. Like, what I'm actually saying, he goes, these are problems that affect like all kinds of people, you know, not just poor minorities. He goes, but you said poor minorities. You're talking about the Black and Hispanic communities that we're talking about. He goes, well, yeah, that and others. He goes, so if I go down to the check cashing place, a lot of Jews and Asians sitting in line waiting to get their checks cashed. And he goes, yeah, it affects everybody. Totally. It was like, oh, dude, just walk off the show. Just walk off the show.
Yeah, I'm curious about this Bannon episode, see how this pans out. It looks like Gavin has taken some heat from the Democrat side of the media machine for hosting him. But I don't know what that's based off of just yet.
You replaced? Yeah, he. I watched a little bit of it. It didn't give me the full impact because you know when you find this stuff, it's always like Gavin Newsom destroyed by Steve Bannon. Then you watch it and you're like, okay, I want him to be destroyed. I think Steve Bannon could do it, but it's not quite that easy. I think that part of it is the game that you play. You don't just go on someone's podcast and just completely humiliate them. Like Charlie Kirk could have really gone much harder in the paint than he did.
Yeah, nobody tunes into this, Gavin and Charlie Kirk, to hear a synopsis of Charlie Kirk's resume. They don't want to know how he started out. They don't want to know, what he did in his 20s, where he went to college. They don't want to hear any of this shit. They want to hear about his position on topics and
but
how they go against what the position of Gavin, quite frankly.
Well, in that situation, because they're so polarly opposed. Yeah.
I'm not listening to this for any other reason. Like the Michael Savage episode started out with, we've both been in the city for a long time. We've got a lot of history together. Your father knew my father. I mean, it's like, you're trying to find a human element here that is eating up time that I think should be spent listening to somebody that I think has fucked up the state and needs to be held accountable for it.
Yeah. But you kind of can't do that, right? You have to play the game of the niceties of just, you're sitting down in my studio, like, how are you? Like,
any future podcasters out there, that's the shit I'm fast forwarding past.
Well, yes, you do that, but you still, in order to get a legitimate person-to-person human interaction out of someone, you can't just sit down and start hammering them. You have to kind of warm up. Believe me, Jake, I've been podcasting for a long time. I think I know what I'm talking about here. All right, here, hold on. You want to hear this? This is a little clip from
humiliated. Bannon. Gavin Newsom humiliated as Steve Bannon makes him look like, that makes him look like an idiot. That's great.
By the way, Steve Bannon doesn't make Gavin Newsom look like an idiot.
No, his hair does.
Gavin Newsom does that.
Look at that piece of art in the background, by the way.
Right about something? Absolutely. The right is right, and you are right to criticize the extended period.
Gavin Newsom, who now has a podcast because clearly he's doing such a bad
notion of agency, I think is important more broadly. And I think that goes to some of the issues around, victimization. And I see a lot of that respectively on the right increasingly, even with Trump often approaching things from that sort of mindset.
What do you mean? What do you mean for Trump?
I think there's sort of the grievance narrative that comes from Trump. This notion there is sort of a victim.
Well, they did try to put him in prison for 300 years, right? They did try to bankrupt him.
Well, that's
if a guy ever had a set of grievances, they did steal, according to us, and we're firm believers, the 2020 election, which I think worked out better. That providentially that he was able to come back with that gap.
Shout out to Gavin Newsom for being able to communicate in ASL while he speaks.
The guy is talented.
That's not easy to do.
He must have had an MRI and then came out like, I'm going to learn
it's
ASL.
Kind of a hybrid. It's like we call it cocaine ASL. Right? Does these like weird jerky motions with his hands.
That's how he relates to the brown and black people.
Oh yes, he's standing in the line at the check cashing place.
Right,
right. What do you think that his end goal is? I've been kind of fascinated by this. Like, what do you think his end goal is with this podcast, which he's like clearly not cut out to do? And I think it goes back to the discussion we were having in the last 2 episodes.
He's looking for relevancy.
That's right. What I was going to say.
And well, I think the left is kind of scrambling right now. Like they're just like, we got to like rethink this thing. And then they're looking at the model that has worked for the right, which I think is kind of funny, is that we're just gonna. So now what the right is, and using my finger quotes, is like people like Joe Rogan and Jimmy Dore, Dave Smith. Even Dave Rubin.
Dude, Jimmy Dore.
He's like, all we do is sit down and have conversations that last for several hours. You take away what you want to take away from what we talk about. And they're going like, man, what a novel concept. We should try to do that. And you're like, well, no, your brain doesn't work that way. Like you've been indoctrinated within this political process of just sticking to these talking points. You don't have any substantive ideas that can hold muster in a conversation.
The Democratic Party right now is in a shambles, and the door is wide open for someone to just come in and kind of take control of it. Mm-hmm. The problem is that none of them. It's like AA. Like none of them can admit that they have a problem.
Do you think that? Do you think that somebody could come in and just based on charisma, take the staples of the Democratic Party's position, pick up the mantle, and reintroduce that all to the nation?
100%. Yes. Bernie Sanders
had ideas.
If he's already kind of spoiled his name, I think, but the Bernie Sanders of 8 years ago could come in right now and be the Bernie Sanders from 8 years ago if we didn't already know that he was just a limp dick, and say, we're doing this my way. And when they try to cut him out of the what did they do?
They decided when he was running in the primaries against Hillary Clinton, the nail in his coffin was that right before the Democratic debate at the DNC convention, Donna Brazile, who was moderating the debates,
chair of the DNC,
and gave the questions ahead of time to Hillary Clinton. So
there was also an email just saying,
and
like,
all these Bernie people went like, okay, I guess I'm a Hillary guy now.
It's because Bernie didn't have the backbone to say, no, fuck that. You're going to steal this from me. I'm taking the party somewhere else. We're going to do a third party. Yeah. Be the Trump of that side. But be honest, because that was one thing Bernie had going for him. I didn't agree with any of his policies.
But he was honest.
He believed what he said, and he was honest about socialism, and he wanted that, and it appealed to a lot of people, as horrifying as that is. But he didn't have the courage of his convictions, and so he couldn't withstand the heat of doing that. But somebody could come along and do that.
Charisma will push people over the edge in terms of where they're at with trans stuff, critical race theory, endless wars, bigger government. You think all of those things, which are the staples of the Democratic position, could be conveyed effectively to the point where people actually go out and vote for it by a charismatic Democratic representative? Because
I think those things have those items have been killed, and they can't still cling to the trans stuff. That died this year, but I don't think that's like a staple. That kind of came along in the last 10 years. But I think that the Democratic Party, if they gave up those kind of issues that have died and they just went with what they really want, which is socialism, then somebody could do that. And not just charisma. They have to be honest also. And that Bernie Sanders was honest about that. He was wrong about all that stuff. It was not good, but he was honest. And if there is an honest conveyor of this message, and Gavin Newsom can't figure that out. None of them can. Like I was saying with the alcoholism thing, they have this problem of dishonesty and cheating and propaganda that they just can't get over. They they have to abandon that and go like just straight to the people and say, we're doing this thing and this is why it's good. And this is, we're being honest about it. We're not just going to gaslight you the whole time.
I think Kamala Harris is starting to come around.
Okay, so
the whole thing with the Dorrito bag and
I just heard this today. I think it was on Tucker Carlson, but there was that there's rumors that we think are true. For example, we think that
Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself.
Yes. I mean, wackier stuff than that. That Justin Trudeau is the illegitimate son of Fidel Castro.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, that's the physical evidence lines up for that. His mom and Castro were dated at the same time that he was conceived. He looks just like the guy, right? Michelle Obama is a man. Okay. That's another one.
Big Mike.
There is evidence. I'm not saying it's not a sure thing, but there is evidence that she is a man.
Mm-hmm.
There is the evidence of the guy that went on Tucker and said that he blew Obama in the limousine. There's photographic evidence of her when she was young that makes her look very mannish.
Mm-hmm.
There's video evidence of certain anatomical abnormalities. But the one that came up on Tucker was that...
Have you heard about? Sorry, but there's
now we're cooking with oil.
One that's kind of buried, but the one I've heard of that it's been mysteriously buried is that people have come forward saying that the first lady of France is actually
okay. Yeah, thank you for interrupting me with the point I was about to make. Macron's wife apparently is a man, and Tucker and this dude that he had on were talking about it like this is like. Because that was like one of those Big Mike rumors for a while.
Yeah.
Apparently, and I don't know why, I just am getting this from what they said. Apparently, this has been confirmed that he is a man and groomed Macron at a young age and is then, became his man wife. What more do you know about this? Is there like rock solid evidence on that?
Who's gone? Who's seen the dick?
I mean, okay.
Great bumper sticker idea, by the way.
That is a good bumper sticker.
Seen the dick. Candace Owens has went deep on this. Who was like previously was like a solid, like pretty right leaning kind of intellectual kind of platform. And then she's just gone like deep on like Michelle Obama's a man, Big Mike, and then also the Macron thing. And I was going like, I got to look into this. And I talked to my buddy, who's a very left dude, very close friend of mine, dude I love very much. And he was talking about how he had a conversation, and the conversation he was having with someone, I don't want to butcher this, but they were saying he explained how the whole Macron thing, and he's married to because he's the person that Macron is married to was his teacher. So he definitely was groomed.
Yeah. This person is 70 years old.
Yes. And then
Macron's like 48 or something.
And my buddy was telling me, he goes, what? It just sounds like ridiculous. And he's like, but then the way that this guy laid it out, you're like, holy shit. Like, it's almost kind of convincing.
So,
yeah, I believe, look at that picture. Tell me you look at that picture and are 100% convinced that's a woman.
So the former Canadian president, was the child of
Fidel Castro.
Mm-hmm. The wife of the president of France is a dude.
Mm-hmm.
Obama thing unconfirmed.
Another dude.
It seems like there's some weird behind the curtain shit going on.
One would think.
And it all comes down to fucking pedophilia. Why is this?
Or Israel.
Yes.
It's one of the two.
But then I repeat myself. Like, why is there a global movement of elites and connected to pedophilia?
How dark you guys want to go?
I'm so far ahead of you.
All right, go ahead. Why does this exist, in your opinion?
Fucking Satan.
Right?
Right? Fucking actual
And
satanic.
what's the connection between the global elites and Satan?
That's where they get their fucking power from. They're, clearly...
I fucking agree.
Oh, we're going to do adrenochrome finally? I'm so excited.
I totally agree with that. I think that there is a global Satanist, and they might not even have a picture of Satan in their house.
Okay, so
why would they? He visits.
This is like pure evil, and these people who are purely evil realize that they need power in order to conduct their evil deeds, and they've gotten power, and now they're doing the worst things imaginable. They're ruining the most pure things that we have in our society, our youth, and it's a drug to them, like not unlike adrenochrome.
It gets worse than that.
Fucking literally ancient Canaanite fucking blood ritual magic bullshit that they fucking use to get into power and maintain their power. And
you think Gavin Newsom is a pedophile?
Pull his picture up.
He's got lawyers. easy. So do we. Keep talking.
And better than that, we have no money. So
the best way that I've heard it kind of laid out, and this is going to get extremely dark.
If you'd like to contribute to the Liberty Tree Legal Defense Fund, just hit me up on Instagram.
Is that you have these people that are the elites, right? They're rich beyond our wildest imagination. They can have anything they want. I want a girl. I want this. I want this. You can have it. Money's not an issue. They can have anything they want. And you get to the point, it's almost like the most perverse, dark, hedonistic treadmill that you can think of. Is the one thing that they cannot have is an unwilling participant. And that's where it gets into this weird, say, I don't want to go into the details of it because it's really fucking sick. But that's where it goes into this pedophilia realm.
Do you think that they got there after they got the money and power, or they were already there and they just knew that they needed money and power to fulfill their worst?
Well, it's got to be a little bit of both, right? It's let's say that
let's say Bill Burr, for example.
No.
Well, no, but Bill Burr started off without the money and power, probably without the dreams for any of that. And now he's being kind of slowly brought into that realm.
No, this is the point I'm trying to make, is that let's say that I deposit into your checking account tomorrow $7 billion. It's like you do whatever you want for the rest of your life. The way that you were raised, the way that your life path, you're never going to get there. You're going to do a lot of stupid shit, like start a Leatherhead football league, for example.
Good idea.
But you'll never get there because your brain is not broken. And this gets going all the way back to...
Is brain being broken synonymous with evil?
Well, they
It can be.
Yeah.
I mean...
Was one precede the other?
Well, this is sort of tangential, but you've ever heard of somebody sustaining a damage to the head and then they just completely change as a person?
Right.
I've got a friend this happened to, but the most famous case was a guy that worked back, he's building the railroads back in the 1800s or something. They were dynamiting mountains and shit, and he basically got a big piece of metal lodged in his head. Totally chill dude, had a family and everything. I forget the name of the person, but basically he was supposed to die. They didn't have the medical skills to be able to treat this type of injury back in the day, but he lived. They managed to extract the piece of metal from his head, but he became a full-on villain afterwards, like robbing people, fucking doing all kinds of nefarious shit, basically.
Yeah, there's been a bunch of studies about like CTE too, where it just scrambles the brain to such an extent that they get into crazy impulsive behavior.
Yeah, there you go.
There he is.
So,
Jesus Christ.
Jesus, dude.
Real.
Well, I mean, hold on a second.
You soft pedal that story.
how these pictures don't necessarily line up, right?
So look, his eye is not working.
Yeah, but he doesn't have a rod in his face in the picture on the left. So what they do? They just grabbed a random skull and fucking shoved a rod through it.
They must have removed it, right? Or did he walk around with the rod in his head?
Telling me that's an X-ray on the right?
It looks like a drawing.
Yeah, I agree. Okay. Anyway,
this is a photo, though.
This is how misinformation happens.
In 1848, railroad worker Phineas Gage had this iron rod shot through his head. So he's holding the rod that went through his head. This is probably just a diagram of how it happened because they didn't have technology back then.
So, but it doesn't talk. I'll scroll back down a little bit. It says the stuff about him losing his mind is mostly exaggerated. Okay. Well,
I hope he got that thing out of there before he had his MRI. It would have been a fucking nightmare.
Pomegranate smoothie. I derailed your conversation. Pun intended.
No, not. Ow!
We're going to take a short break here, Kelly.
You're getting better.
Rock Chopper's head.
I'm on the mend. So the evil could precede the greed, or the greed.
If what
could
you're
precede
asking
the
is
evil.
if some dude says, I want power and wealth and all of the things that come with it, but I don't have them right now, and I'm a fucking nobody in Rohnert Park. Yeah. I mean, am I saying that you can, sacrifice kittens and gain some small amount of unholy, dominion over this world? I don't fucking know. Maybe, but there's a lot of people doing that shit.
That's true, and they're not billionaires. And if they were, it's like that analogy I gave that one time of the person who speeds up when you try to pass when the freeway goes from 2 lanes.
Apples to apples here.
4. It's like
pedophiles.
No. Well, I'm just saying, like, you give that lady $1 billion, and then next thing you know, she's trying to change the fucking weather.
Well, you don't.
So you give that kid that's torturing kittens $1 billion, and you have the next evil genius. But I wonder, though, because I think that
that bitch of the Subaru lives on Halcyon Ridge. I fucking know.
I think that there is the phone's ringing. I was hoping it was the CDC calling me again.
I'm so jealous you're getting those phone calls and I'm not.
I'm like, just call during the podcast, please. I'll let you talk to him. I think that there is evil in the world. Let's call it Satan. And he is looking to destroy all that is good.
Have you ever looked at the Hillary emails?
The what? Hillary
emails and the Podesta stuff?
Oh, I looked into the Podesta stuff.
I mean,
looking
genuinely referencing fucking Moloch, if that shit is to be believed, right?
You looked at the paintings on John Podesta's brothers?
Yeah, all that shit. Yeah.
Oh, it's insane.
I was on the internet in 2020.
Yeah.
Apparently there's paintings in, back to the Macron guy, in his office of like weird devil shit on the wall. Like, I think this stuff exists and it looks for a host. And people in power who are, not necessarily intelligent or good or gifted. We have the lowest of the low, like Gavin Newsom, who make their way into power just by checking all the right boxes, doing the right things, meeting the right people.
Was he a nobody? Did he come from nobody? Like, how is this? What's his connection to Nancy Pelosi?
Nah, he's been he's a nephew by marriage.
Okay.
But he's never done anything in his life except be a politician.
Sure. Yeah. But like,
so he has no redeeming qualities.
So how do you get the job as a politician?
Well, one way is to be chosen, which I think he was.
Okay. So,
or let's say you're just some schmuck.
Do you believe in like the whole fucking, I don't know, like 13 families shit, or the hierarchy of elites by bloodline that sort of...
Have you ever known anyone that was like, when you were younger, that was running for office, or that was kind of their plan in the future? No. I knew this guy in San Diego who was just a horrible person. You just didn't like being around him. And I was at this party and they wanted to get some drugs and like Coke or whatever. And this guy was like, kind of trying to set it up. And he's like, oh, no, he couldn't make the call or go get it or something. He's like, I have a political career to think about. And I was just like, ugh, like you are such a fucking scoundrel.
Yeah, because politicians don't do Coke.
Well, he does. Obviously, they do. And he was like, I have to worry about my political career. I'm a terrible human being. Not that people who do Coke are terrible human beings, but this guy was. He was just an awful person. And he's thinking, like, well, my political career matters. I have nothing to offer. I've never made anything. I've never started a business. I've never, done anything for humanity that's, remotely worthwhile. But I'm going to be a politician by doing all the right things, meeting the right people, shaking the right hands, saying yes to whatever to get there. And that's the kind of person, if they get power and wealth, like they're an empty vessel that's just waiting for Satan to just knock on the door one day and be like, let's go. And they're like, fuck yeah. Like I'm not a decent person. So let's.
It's like that movie, Crossroads. The guy that sells his soul to be the best guitar player in the world.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Robert Johnson.
His work's on Spotify.
Yeah.
I also think it has a lot to do. There's like a certain component of that. Certain people are not. So we're kind of conflating the political elite with the actual like elites. And there's like a level. The politicians are just the kind of mouth breathing apparatus of the actual elites. So we can get into the you're getting like 13 families and all that, which is very interesting to look into. But I think that. Goes like a perfect example is J. Edgar Hoover. They find people that are deeply, deeply morally compromised and put them in a certain position of power with the understanding of like, you're going to do the most evil shit in the world. And if you don't, we're letting the cat out of the bag on your weird ass perversions that you have. So I think they find people find themselves like rising to this like certain like higher echelon of power because they are morally compromised and they're like deeply deranged perverts, for example, which gets back into the pedophilia thing.
Versus the people who are actually at the top, who
they're the ones
controlling all this stuff, but are also evil.
Yeah, but they're the ones that have established and the controlling mechanism of this model, which makes them the most deranged perverts of all. Like, who comes up with that model?
Well, who came up with the model for debasing our currency?
Property taxes?
Yes. For printing money, and at the same time that they debase our currency by printing money, also forcing the rest of the world to use it.
Same people.
That's as pretty much as evil.
Yeah.
That's slavery to your own country and then getting the rest of the world wrapped up into that same slavery. It's an enslavement of the entire world.
Satan?
I've got to remember. Shine